The Chicken Soup for the Soul books are known nationwide for their heartfelt stories that relate to all aspects of a person's life. The company was originally founded out in California, but it was bought up by folks here in Connecticut, and the operations were moved here. Joining me now is Amy Newmark, coming in by Skype. Amy, nice to have you here. The Chicken Soup for the Soul books now have gone far beyond the original sort of self-help version that was so popular years ago into different areas. You now have published a Chicken Soup for the Soul book on autism. Tell me about that.
Well, we try to do books that serve all segments of the population, and we were getting so many stories from mothers and fathers of kids on the autism spectrum. And actually, when we started working on the book, the terminology was still that you either had a kid with autism or that you had a kid with Asperger's syndrome. And while we were working on the book, the official terminology changed, and it turned into you having a kid on the autism spectrum, which was a little bit of a quandary for us. So we ended up using all the different terms in the book because so many people still said my child has autism or my child has Asperger's. But what we were hearing from those parents was that there were so many of them out there. After all, 1 in 88 children is diagnosed on the spectrum now. And these parents felt alone. And we knew that if we made them a book, it would be like a portable support group, and they would feel like they were part of a community, and they could share their best tips with each other, their advice on how to raise a child on the spectrum. And so we made the book, and I don't have a child on the spectrum, so I looked for some experts to help me create the book. And we have two women who have children on the spectrum, Nancy Burrows and Mary Beth Marsden, and also we brought in a doctor from the Kennedy Krieger Institute, which specializes in brain disorders, including autism.
Yeah, you know, I have an autistic teenage son. I would say severely autistic. I still say autism because I have a kid, and I can call it whatever I want to. And one of the hard things, Amy, as I'm sure you quickly discovered, is that it's hard to tell one common story because there are as many sort of different versions of autism as there are people with autism.
That's one of the things that we made very clear in the book. When you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. There are a gazillion different ways to be on the autism spectrum. Every child is different. Every child has different strengths and weaknesses. And even a child who is considered to be severely autistic has some special skills, some special attributes. And so we made that very clear in the book. And the book covers children who are just a little bit on the spectrum, who have Asperger's, to children who are severely autistic. And we used a lot of humor in the book too, because you have to inject humor into your life when you're raising a child on the spectrum.
I'm here to tell you, you've got to have a sense of humor as you go about this. In fact, you had sort of an amusing case. Tell me about the youngster with the camera.
Well, this was a child with Asperger's, or at least, not too far into the spectrum, because this child actually went to sleepaway camp, and his mother was so nervous about it because it wasn't the best thing for him normally, and he wasn't all that social, but he had a great time at camp. And when she picked him up, he was telling her how he took lots and lots of photos. And she said, "Oh, I'm so excited to see them." And he was so proud. And then she said, "Well, give me the camera." And he said, "Well, Mom, it said that it was disposable, so I threw it away." Because
they say things quite literally. They say things quite literally sometimes. What kinds of reactions are you getting so far from parents sharing in these stories that you put in the book?
We are getting just the reaction I hoped for. Parents are telling us that this Chicken Soup for the Soul book is like a portable support group for them. It makes them feel less alone. We're getting love letters from the readers. They are so thrilled to have this book. They're saying, "I stayed up till 3 in the morning laughing and crying while I read this book. I felt like you were writing about my child and my experience." And so it's been extremely gratifying. The book has worked out exactly the way that we hoped it would. It's, our format is so great because we have 101 stories. And so there's always something that will resonate with you in a Chicken Soup for the Soul book.
Well, as a parent, an autism parent, I thank you very much for putting this together. I also enjoyed the book a lot, and I guess in a way, Amy, the unfortunate part is that so many people can relate to it. The good part of that is that more and more people in society are understanding what we autism parents go through. I think you've helped that along quite a bit here.
Well, thanks. I learned a lot from doing the book. And now when I see a parent struggling with a child who's misbehaving out in public, I think to myself, I'm not judgmental.
Yep.
That parent probably has a kid on the spectrum and is doing the best job that anybody could hope to do. And I just smile and I'm patient and I don't mind if I'm on an airplane and the kid behind me is kicking my seat.
Yep.
Because now I understand how many people out there are struggling with autism.
Yep. That's what we want people to realize. Thank you so much. You have done your part. Amy from Chicken Soup for the Soul, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right.